Good afternoon to you. Mark Stout with HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020. I have been working on our new web series, the Hurricane Highway. That replaces our Tracking the Hurricanes documentaries. And instead, I'm going to do like a series, so an 8-episode series. That will start to drop on Patreon at the end of the month. And I'll put episodes out through May, and then in mid-June I'll put all of the episodes, all 8 of them, on Amazon Prime Video. So I've been working on that, and looking ahead to the 2020 hurricane season, which is now less than 5 months away. Conference season is coming up. I will be attending the National Tropical Weather Conference down in South Padre Island once again. I'll be a speaker, and I will also be a speaker in Orlando at the National Hurricane Conference, talking about our remote cameras and how we use those to assist emergency managers, the media, the National Hurricane Center, the Weather Service, and, of course, fine people like you guys that are watching. So even though it's January and it's the dead of winter, whatever that means, I'm not dead. I'm here working on stuff, keeping things moving forward as we get through the month of January. It's not too cold here in southeast North Carolina, a little bit chilly, but could be worse, I guess. So got the hoodie on today because it's a little brisk outside, and I like this. And now that I've lost 60 pounds, it's easier to get cold. I've noticed that, by the way. That's a downside of losing weight. Anyhow, let's take a look at what's happening, tropically speaking, around the globe. It's hurricane season somewhere all the time. Tropical cyclone season, to be more specific and more general on it. And down here in the land down under, boy, where they really need them is over here. The region that's been suffering from the bushfires, that is just the stuff of nightmares, and we can't get any appreciable rain down in that area, unfortunately. But we had a couple of cyclones here, a couple of areas of interest in and around the north part of Australia, and but nothing severe, no major, what we would consider like a major hurricane for that area, and some rainfall and some flooding on the northwest coast over here, where there's not a big population area on the northwest part of Australia, but nevertheless, that's what's happening. Nothing anywhere else globally right now. The Westpac nice and quiet out here, no typhoons brewing up in the first part of the year, nothing in the Indian Ocean either. So we'll keep an eye on things and see how things progress. Really, really would like to see more precip down in this part. What is that, the New South Wales state? Something like that. I got to start brushing up, I guess, on my Australian geography, because I guess they're going to be in the news for a while, unfortunately, for something that's not quite positive. All right, looking at lower 48 weather and kind of a look at the tropics as well. There was an earthquake, one of many, down here just off the coast of Puerto Rico. And as we look at the satellite, well, at least if you got your power knocked out because of the earthquake, of course, if you did, you're probably not watching this video, but the weather is not too bad. You're not going to have any major storm systems moving through. You typically wouldn't see that this time of year anyway. Tropical waves are hard to come by. But, as my good buddy Brent, who lives down here in the Virgin Islands, in St. John, was telling me, there are very small pop-up showers that will develop, sort of these air mass storms. And I'll show you a part of why that is in just a minute, a contributing factor. And you can see there are a few low clouds down here embedded within the trade flow, coming out of the Atlantic and into the Caribbean, but no organized tropical waves, no areas of solid convection or large thunderstorm areas, but a few rain showers nonetheless. And hey, for you folks in Puerto Rico, and I don't mean this in a light-hearted manner at all, but hang on. Seriously, I mean, you've had it rough since 2017 with Maria, and now these earthquakes. You've got those active faults just offshore there. Boy, we're pulling for you. This is just not In Puerto Rico, you know how they say, don't tread on Texas or whatever, don't tread on me? Don't mess with Texas is what they say. Well, we need to change that and steal it and give it to Puerto Rico. Nature, stop messing with Puerto Rico, please. Elsewhere across the, at least looking at the tropics, you can see strong southwest winds coming out of the subtropics. Well, the tropics into the subtropics, and even some southwesterly flow across the deep tropics down here. And that, among other things, is why you don't have hurricanes developing in the month of January typically. And it's not down in the deep tropics. It's extremely rare to ever have that in the deep tropics. A storm system trying to move into the Pacific Northwest, where a lot of mountain snow will fall. The overall pattern is going to favor storminess out west. We'll get to that in more detail in a minute. And then we're going to have a big severe weather and heavy rain event for portions of the deep south. I shall also look at that. But first, looking at the still in the world of the tropics, part of these off-season outlook discussion videos that I do, we do take a look at some of the larger puzzle pieces that we keep track of that may or may not help to shape the upcoming hurricane season, and these are things that we can track on a weekly basis. It's easy to do. We have the tools to do so. And this graphic is one of those. It is the sea surface temperature anomalies chart, the NOAA-NESDIS version. And you notice in the equatorial Pacific, kind of warming up just a little bit overall. More warm shades of the colors in here. And remember, these are anomalies, departures from average. Either positive, warm, or negative, which would be cooler or cold. And there's a lot more warm overwhelming the scene than there is cold. But it's not a significant warming. We don't have a major El Nino setting up. But this is on the warmer side of neutral, if you want to call it that. And it probably won't last. This is going to ebb and flow. No major news in the INSO department right now, El Nino Southern Oscillation phenomenon. There's nothing big coming out regarding that. No new updates, nothing earth-shattering. So we'll just take a look at the anomalies here on the surface. But look elsewhere, as we switch over to the Atlantic Basin, very, very warm in the northwest Atlantic, sea surface temperature-wise. Some of these anomalies here are 3, 4, 5 Celsius. And then in the Gulf down here, very warm. You see the loop current real prominent there, 3 to 4 degrees Celsius above average. And then, as I was alluding to, look around here in the Caribbean, pretty solid area of orange in that region. And that's indicating positive anomalies. And if we look at this from a different perspective, in just a moment, I'll show you why I think this is contributing to some of those little pop-up showers that Brent was talking to me about via text the other day. This is interesting off the coast of Africa. Parts of the main development region are really warm compared to average. If we look at about 10 degrees latitude, which is roughly through here, there's a little bit of it down there. And, even further south than that, down to about 5, 6 latitude. I mean, there's the equator, 0 latitude right through there. So just north of the equator, and then stretching through a good deal of the tropical Atlantic. And we're talking pretty far south in latitude. It's pretty warm overall. And that even gets detected on well, I thought I had this pulled up. Let's see. Let me go back to my list here. Where was it? That's it. Oh, yeah, it's right there. I already had it. So never mind. Whatever. That even shows up here on the Reynolds version. This is from Dr. Richard Reynolds. Well, his methodology of contouring the, and this is a weekly average. This is another way to visualize the anomalies. And, yeah, you can see right off the coast of Africa, very warm, 2 degrees Celsius, right up against the coast there, Sierra Leone and vicinity. But here's what I was talking about, and let's get rid of some of that telestration and let me zoom in. So Brent and you folks down in the Virgin Islands, over here, sorry. And in fact, anywhere in this isotherm, which is line of equal temperature, and in this case, it's an isoanomaly. It's a line of equal anomaly. I just made that up. Maybe it's a real thing. But that's 1 Celsius above average. Now, I'm here to tell you, if you were in the bath, if you take a bath, take a shower, take a bath, and you got the water at, 30 Celsius or whatever, and you turned it up to 31 Celsius, would you notice a difference? Maybe. It's not very significant, but the amount of energy in 1 degree Celsius rise in water temperature, and then you start getting into physics and thermodynamics and all sorts of other maybe interesting things, but we don't have time to go over that here. But trust me when I tell you that 1 degree Celsius, I mean, look at the planet as a whole. We've warmed, I think, 1 degree Celsius, according to experts. And there's a whole other soapbox and jump off the deep end there if you want to with climate change. But we do notice 1 degree Celsius in some parts of our lives. Down here in the Caribbean, that extra heat energy in the ocean leads to, anyone? More evaporation. Yes, the warmer the water, the more it evaporates, and then more evaporation leads to more humidity, and more humidity leads to a more unstable atmosphere, and bingo, you get these pop-up showers, even though the overall air mass is not filled with tropical waves moving through. We're not having these large chunks of energy coming off of Africa. Instead, the warm water temperatures down here relative to average, contributing to a few of those showers that Brent was telling me about. So there's your little meteorological global connection, everything's connected kind of deal for today, all right, for this week. Merry Christmas. All right, so yeah, the anomalies. Look, the rest of the Atlantic, at least on this particular chart, and this was updated very recently, the 4th of January, just a few areas of cool way up in the North Atlantic, but everything else, subtropics through the main development region, especially the western portions of it, into the Gulf of Mexico, quite a bit above the long-term average. And that will play into this storm event that we're going to get here in parts of the lower Mississippi Valley in the next several days. All right, and that leads us into the actual sea surface temperatures. Here's the Gulf of Mexico. And again, I just can't believe this. It's January the 7th, and all of this orange in here is 27 Celsius. See, right there on the scale. That's not a mistake. It better not be. I mean, we depend on this. That's 27 C, man. That's 81 Fahrenheit. And I talked about this last week, so let's just change it up. If you left out here from the toe of Louisiana, out at Buras and Venice Way, as they say, right? If you left from the mouth of the Mississippi in your boat, your nice shrimp trawler, and just went a couple hundred miles to the southeast, and then even a little bit more so to the east or southwest from there, you could jump off the shrimp boat like Forrest Gump did, right, when he jumped into the water after his buddy Lieutenant Dan, and the water would feel great. If you did that right off of Buras in vicinity, not so much, a little bit chilly. 19, 20 Celsius, which is 68, 70 degrees if you're lucky Fahrenheit. But yeah, just jump in the old shrimping boat and head out here to the loop current, and bingo, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we all know, we should by now, that in hurricane season, the Gulf is always warm enough for intense hurricanes. And so this really doesn't make a difference there. We're not looking at necessarily, oh, this could mean a busy hurricane season for the Gulf or anything like that. I mean, if it stays this warm, it might mean an earlier start to the Gulf tropical cyclone season, but we'll wait and see. Instead, again, talking about energy here. Remember, I want you to put on your thinking caps and remember what I tell you about heat is energy. Moisture holds heat, and all of that extra energy, all that heat energy in the Gulf of Mexico, which is also, remember, it's running above average. You can see it right there, 1 degree Celsius plus. That's going to lead to some problems with active storms that come across the deep south, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Meanwhile, off the mid-Atlantic and east coast, very, very warm actual temperatures here. Again, the whole idea, if you got into a shrimp trawler out of Charleston, took off of Charleston Harbor or McClellanville, Bulls Bay and vicinity, went out into the Gulf Stream, not quite as warm as the Gulf, but, hey, 78 Fahrenheit, I'll take it. Right there's 26 Celsius just off the coast of Jacksonville. Not far. I mean, it's not just off the coast. You can't dip your toe into that, but, you know, again, you took a boat out there, a nice yacht, out of St. Augustine or someplace. And they got some nice yachts in Florida, don't they? You could jump in the Gulf Stream, and it would be quite lovely. Elsewhere, up along the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast coast, chilly as you'd expect, but once again, just like last year, as we segue into lower 48 weather now, we're not getting any of these big, powerful nor'easters. And Arctic blast coming down over the lower 48 into the east and into the deep south and southeast, that is not happening yet. And so the water temperatures here off the east coast and mid-Atlantic staying above normal, above the long-term average, as you can clearly see back here on the Reynolds map. So, lower 48 weather, what's going on? Again, a wide shot of everything from the Weather Service hazards map, winter storm warnings, flood advisories, etc. for the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies, Montana, and elsewhere. And then some flood, and let's just click on this. These different greens. What is that light green? That's like a flood. It's not a lakeshore flood advisory because this is not a lake. That's the lakeshore. Well, darn it, I'll just click on it. I talk about this map enough. It is a flood warning. Oh, and then a hydrologic outlook. I gotcha. So, and that's what they're talking about. That's what this is. This is so helpful. Is if you see these colors on the nice, pretty map there, you can go click on any region you want and find out more. So this is the hydrologic outlook for the region, meaning that trouble is on the way. And it is, because the Gulf is very warm, very moisture-laden, and that's going to feed a developing storm system that's going to come around this way. And there's going to be a lot of heavy rain across that region coming up. So let's take a look at that in the modeling here. This is the GFS from today. 12Z run courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com and the great Dr. Levi Cowan. And so here's the initial map. Lower 48 weather, right? Here we go. Here's the East Coast. There's Florida, etc. Pacific Northwest, Baja Peninsula. And you notice down here in the Deep South today, well, not quite the Deep South. What would you call this? The interior Mid-Atlantic. The Appalachians here, the Piedmont. Cold rain, some snow and sleet in the mountain areas, but nothing major as this quick-hitting system moves on out. So we move this out into time, kind of a benign pattern for most of the east as we go into tomorrow into Thursday. Storminess moves into the Pacific Northwest, more rain and snow for where it's desperately needed all the time. Then, watch what happens as we get into the weekend. Here's Friday into Friday night and Saturday. And that, my friends, is why we needed the hydrologic outlook. The GFS indicating very heavy rainfall, storminess, severe weather. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Frozen precip on the backside because there is some Canadian high pressure. Moving down, pressing up against this battle zone. And I mean, look at that Bermuda high offshore. Are you kidding me? That's incredible. And that's going to pump very, very warm, unstable air into the deep south, the southeast. Over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially Saturday, Sunday, record highs will spread all up along the East Coast. For you that are trying to go snow skiing at Hawk's Nest and Sugar Mountain, up into Snowshoe and West Virginia and beyond, the Alleghenies, all the way up into Pennsylvania, New York, etc. Sorry, but this pattern stinks for good snow for you guys and really for snow making. As we get into the weekend, that is a very robust Bermuda high sitting out there. There's Bermuda right there. And then on the west side of it, there's your battle zone. Basic meteorology here. And that's going to be a big problem. Lots of flooding issues, not only flash flooding where it's happening very quickly, but also river flooding as the river levels begin to rise. That goes through Saturday morning into Saturday evening, afternoon, and night, etc. That moves through the deep south, southeast, so Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Finally, it looks like it washes out amazingly. Just poof, the energy dissipates. I mean, look at that. It goes from holy mackerel to, well, where'd it go? And then maybe some heavier snows on the backside of it for you folks up in New England, away from the coast for the most part, at least the big cities. D.C. up through Philly, New York and Boston, no major nor'easters anytime in the near future or the long term for you guys. It looks like here 6 days out. And look, there it is again. Rinse and repeat. It's like one of those shampoo bottles. Another Bermuda high setting up. Strong flow on the back side of it. More heavy rain for the deep south. This does not bode well for the severe weather season in earnest that comes around in March, April, and May. I'm going to tell you that right now. This is a bad sign for that. You're getting all this dynamic stuff now, and it's friggin' January. Doesn't look good for the real severe weather season, or the heart of it anyway. I mean, if it's happening, it's real, right? So look again at day 6 and 7, more heavy rain for the southeast. At least it'll help with the drought situation. And then that's about it. We'll stop at day 8 because beyond that, the model's not very helpful, right? So looking at the severe weather, talking about this in January is unusual. But then when you look at, day 1, 2, 3, not too bad. But day 4 through 8, this is starting to show up in the probabilistic side of things. And that's going to be a big deal there for portions of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, across the Deep South, as I mentioned. So here's what I need you guys to do. Here's your homework. Pay attention to what's going on with the weather. We got a lot of distractions out there in the rest of the world with the geopolitical scene, with all these hashtags WW3 going on. And I don't mean to laugh, but we're very distracted. We are a very stressed people. Species, whatever. And a lot of things trying to get our attention. And in the world of weather, you don't want to hype things too much, but we want to make sure you keep it just right. And when you see a probabilistic signal like this at days 4, 5, 6, or whatever, and beyond sometimes, that's day 4, that's day 5, this is very problematic. So I need for you guys to pay attention. Use your good sources of info on Twitter, official sources like the National Weather Service, etc., the Storm Prediction Center, and stay on top of this. Maybe on Thursday or Friday I'll pump out another video just to kind of talk about this more as it starts to come into fruition. I want to make sure people are weather aware. Get your hurricane ready, but keep you weather aware because hurricanes are weather. Duh. And so we have to keep that all in perspective. All right, so let me get there I am. Got to sign off now. So we covered a lot to talk about, even though we don't have any major storm systems unfolding. And that's about it. We'll see how this pattern evolves over the next few days. Very warm coming up for the east, stormy and colder out west. The fires down in Australia. Wow, it's enough. Like I said, a lot of stuff to pull our attention in a lot of different ways, but at least the weather is not off of the extreme side of things in the lower 48 just yet. All right? You never know. It could turn on a dime. Well, not quite that quickly. We'll be ahead of it, won't we? Because we pay attention. That is it from me. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, YouTube. Yeah, become a subscriber on YouTube. That doesn't cost anything. Be sure you put the little bell on. I guess the notification, if you want to be notified when Mark posts a video, that's how you do it, right? And I am on Patreon, I am on Twitter, so look me up there. The HurricaneTrack brand, Hurricane Track. I'll outline it for you just in case you're new. That's it right there, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack, as we build our crowdfunding effort to help support what we're doing going forward. It's great to have you all as a part of it. No matter how you're a part of it, I appreciate it on any device that you're watching from. It's awesome, so I appreciate that. Good to have you. Again, I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thank you for watching. I'll talk with you before the end of the week for sure, and about that severe weather, and then we will be back, if I can speak it, with another full update early next week.